In this episode of Bitcoin for Millennials, I'm joined by Noah Kaufman, a board-certified ER physician, financial educator, public speaker, and the author of the book Self Bitcoinization.
Bitcoin is that powerful restructuring of human alignments. Bitcoin is a peaceful revolution.
Whether you're a seasoned Bitcoiner or just starting out on your journey, this conversation will challenge your assumptions and inspire you to think differently about money, health, and human potential. I really enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you do too. And if you do, please like and subscribe here on YouTube or follow me on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. I really appreciate the support. Now let's dive into this episode. I wanted to start with something I saw. I don't know if it was a tweet or maybe something that's in the book, but you describe Bitcoin as a Trojan horse for morality dressed up as a get-rich-quick scheme.
Yeah.
What led you to this realization?
Great opening question. And that's kind of the underpinnings for my whole thought structure around Bitcoin. I think that Bitcoin is a Trojan horse for morality, and you can add the second part, dressed up as a get-rich-quick scheme, is all predicated on the fact that I think that Bitcoin can change the current paradigm from a fiat, corrupt type of paradigm that favors asset holders and the very wealthy and corporations and the technocracy and the kakistocracy, which is the governance by the least competent, but by the bankers and everything that we know about. Bitcoin is a peaceful revolution and a way of changing all that and changing the underlying paradigm to usher in hopefully a new paradigm that is one of collaboration, of resource allocation, that everybody can enjoy the benefits of technology and live with ever-growing wealth. Like Jeff Booth says, technology and the market is fundamentally deflationary. We should all have more and more over time as technology creates more effective, more efficient goods and services. So that's it in a nutshell. I know I said a lot, but there's a lot of support thought structures to come to that conclusion. But on first principles, it seems to make sense.
Are there any things that we can zoom in on to kind of explain why it makes sense what you're saying? There are a few things, right? It's I think the deflationary technology thing is one, especially when we're currently having a crazy AI productivity storm or hurricane that's going to cover the world in the next decade, right? And so a lot of things are going to happen there. Is it a perpetual debasement of fiat money that creates perverse incentives so people have a high time preference, so they are consuming, they are not building, right? So I think there's a few things that we could pull up on, but what are your thoughts here? How could we kind of unpack that?
People have a lot of assumptions and a lot of biases, especially recency bias and trust in the current paradigm, where it's really hard to accept. And then when you start to present philosophical arguments, it's hard for people to get past. Okay, well, I can't hear anything you're saying because you own Bitcoin, and of course you want it to go up because you're like an evangelist and this serves you. So I'm closed off to hearing anything because, and so that's part of our marketing problem. It does seem like marketing. It does seem fanatical to people. When I get into conversations with really smart people who don't understand Bitcoin or think they understand Bitcoin but haven't studied it at all, their solutions to the current problems have nothing to do with the money system. They think that the problem is not like a base layer value problem as low as the money system. The problem is they all want to argue policy, politics, everything that is derivative. Behavior, exactly. Everything that's derivative to the way things have been, when it's that cave analogy, that Plato's cave analogy, where we're all seeing shadows on the wall, right? And we're in a cave, and we maybe can't see truth, but we can see shadows of truth. And that's because we're stuck and we've been raised in this system that is fundamentally, dysfunctional and fundamentally worked for a very, very long time. Bitcoin comes off as being something absurd because it's trying to fix the base layer. So instead of putting numerous band-aids on cuts, or like a plumbing system that has leaks everywhere, and you put the plumber's tape and the plumber's goop, and you're like trying to put it all together. Bitcoin is trying to like rip out all the old plumbing, maybe tear down the whole house and build a whole new house. Mm-hmm. And so, it's very hard for people who live in the best rooms in the house, who are very comfortable, to say, well, yeah, there's some problems with the plumbing downstairs, but plumbing up here works fine. Like we don't need to tear down the house. So I think that's where our marketing problem comes from. And it ties back into, it's a Trojan horse for morality. Most people on the base layer of society are not benefiting as much as the bankers and the CEOs and all these people who, may or may not have earned their position, are closer to the faucet and get more money and get more resources.
In a interesting way, this is what the allegory of the cave, Plato's cave, is about, right? Like the people that are outside, that have seen the sun, the real physical reality, when they go back into the cave and tell everyone like, hey, there's actually something there that is real, more real. There are people that decide to stay in the cave, right? Or they don't take the people that come from this different paradigm. Basically, when they come back, they don't even take them seriously because
they're skeptical.
It is, which is a good thing, right? I think this is also why Bitcoin, the in concept, it's for anyone, but it won't be for everyone, right? Like not people. Many people are not curious enough to see, well, what if there is actually this thing outside of the cave where the real sun actually shines, and I can do all these other things and enjoy the life, right? Like, so I personally find that very difficult. Like I would love for everyone to see the problems that we are seeing and eventually see the solution that we are seeing, but it feels like many people are stuck in their paradigm, right? They are stuck in that cave. They cannot really go outside, and or they don't even want to go outside. But in your book, you mentioned that Bitcoin, you see Bitcoin as a bridge between these two paradigms, where I would say like the other paradigm is the deflationary technology abundance paradigm, right?
Precisely.
As opposed to the artificial scarcity system that we basically live in now. Would you describe it like that as well? And have you already seen that play out with either yourself or like other people that have adopted Bitcoin? Like, what is your idea about moving into Bitcoin and then you experience what?
I think that we all see that when people start to adopt Bitcoin, their value, their bank account, or the Bitcoin value goes up. And at first it's like, oh my gosh, I have $1 million, I got whatever, I've got $100,000, I've got whatever it is. And they start to maybe research a little bit more into Bitcoin. They start to accumulate more Bitcoin. They start to understand and adopt a low time preference. And, whereas fiat forces us to spend and, punishes savers, Bitcoin rewards savers, and it rewards long-term thinking, and it rewards really thinking about your future. And this is the most important for millennials and even Gen Z and all the up and comers, to realize is that, and with AI, they could be living I don't know. I mean, they could be living for hundreds of years. And so, I think at some point, based on technology, it makes sense for humanity to move more towards a system that allows us to actually enjoy the fruits of our technological advancements, and allows us to sit back and not have to work, not be a slave, and just increases freedom for everyone.
Bitcoin custody is evolving, and OnRamp is leading this change with multi-institution custody, eliminating single points of failure. Instead of relying on one institution, OnRamp secures your Bitcoin in a cold storage multi-sig vault backed by 3 independent custodians, where no single party can move your funds alone, providing an unprecedented level of security. Your assets are protected by a 100 million Lloyd's of London insurance policy, with all transactions fully auditable on-chain and only executed at your direction. This means complete transparency and control over your assets at all times. Beyond custody, OnRamp provides comprehensive Bitcoin services that include trading, lending, inheritance planning, and IRAs. You can view them as your private Bitcoin banking partner tailored to your wealth preservation goals. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or an experienced holder, OnRamp's approach helps you secure your generational wealth with unmatched security and peace of mind. You can sign up at onrampbitcoin.com and use code BRAM, that's BRAM, to receive $150 in Bitcoin after your first deposit. If you first want to learn more, you can also book a free consultation via their website to speak with one of their Bitcoin custody experts. Tell them you came through me, and they'll take extra good care of you.
And so what I've noticed, to get back to your main question, is that, for me personally, I've been buying Bitcoin for 10 years. I buy $100 a day. I'm a physician. I work in the hospital like a week, a month. I'm doing a lot of projects. I invest in a lot of companies. I recently invested like in Sound HSA, and like I've got other Bitcoin investments. And so like as you buy Bitcoin and as you convert, well, I should say as you sell, your rapidly depreciating dollars, and you convert into the most pristine, most valuable asset the world's ever seen, you start to get financial freedom and time freedom, and you start to be able to look at things on a more long-term basis, and it gives you a comfort. You no longer feel scared or anxious about money. It makes your relationships better, and you want to start, contributing. And so, I mean, it's a big reason why I wrote Self Bitcoinization. It's like I want to help people see what myself and a lot of the other people who helped to orange pill me and have gone through themselves at various stages. We say class of 2018 or 2020 or 2017, 2021. We all go through it, but everybody who starts to adopt the Bitcoin standard, even if it's like a little bit at first, it becomes a huge part of their of their journey. And a lot of people sell it, early on, and they say, oh my gosh, if I hadn't sold it, it would be much higher. Okay, I'm going to buy it this time. I'm going to hold it. Maybe I'll read a book about it, and they start to get educated. And once you do that, you realize this thing is going up forever. And because it's going up forever, I'm just going to put my money in it. And then it keeps going up, and then the volatility happens, and you're like, oh yes, it dropped like $10,000 or $15,000. I've been waiting for this, and then you throw a whole bunch more money in. Like, you're happy when the fiat price like goes down because you get more Bitcoin, at a better value, because eventually you're not going to be able to get 0.1 or 0.01. So over time it changes your perspective on safety, on value, on what you want to do with your time. And I've noticed that with not only myself, like I could stop practicing medicine now. I don't need to. I've got a bunch of real estate. I've got a ton of Bitcoin. Like I can just live the way I want to live and write a book, and try and I do a lot of free medicine for Bitcoiners. Like anybody out there, medicine is a huge grift. It bankrupts people. It's horrible. I hate this medical system. I love my patients. Reach out to me. If it's something easy and I can help out without you needing to go to the ER, I'm happy to do it. So, that sort of freedom for me to be able to give my time to people. I mean, that's what we should all be doing. And I think humanity's goal should be to like move to a post-money system where we don't even need to like exchange something or like it's not a game anymore, and we don't even need to think about how much money we have or how safe we are. Everybody should have like a very high base level of opportunity and enjoyment, and like nobody should be homeless or bereft of opportunity or morals, and everybody should get to experience love and everything that this beautiful dream provides for us, whether it's a simulation or there's a God or, whatever it is. Like, we should be all laser focused on increasing net happiness in the world. And I think going onto that Bitcoin bridge between paradigms, and I think Bitcoin helps people to become self-actualized, to want to, empower themselves, to get in better shape, to be healthier, to eat healthier, to stay away from poisons and toxins that have now, are decaying society. And so I think that should be all of our individual goals, is enlightenment, and then society's goals should be enlightenment as well. And I think Bitcoin is a powerful tool that has certainly helped me to become self-Bitcoinized, and I think can help everyone. I spoke a lot there.
No, I love how big you took it.
I did go big.
Well, I love that, because I think for me it gives me like a point in the future that I would love to see, and I don't know if that is going to happen in my lifetime, but I think it's an interesting motivational driver. What I wanted to ask you is, okay, how can we explain this further to people, that when we have this money that loses value all the time, it creates certain incentives? Then if we introduce a money that has an absolute finite supply, why is that so different? What does that change in our incentives? Because I think if we can understand that, we can also eventually understand like the future picture as to where this would go to.
That's an awesome question. And that's so important for when we talk to our kids, or when we talk to people who are trying to orange pill, and we want the most effective way to do it. The question is, how do you feel about money? And if you ask most people, how do you feel about money? I'm stressed about it. Why are you stressed? Well, everything seems like it's always costing more money. Like, I'm not paid as much. Like, things are just hard. Like, I'm always arguing with my wife or my husband because things are hard. And money is like this thing that we fight about. So many fights in families. And when you ask people, like, well, why are you anxious about money? Well, I don't have enough. Everything is too expensive. I'm having to work like 3 jobs. And then you say, well, okay, do you realize that, you have to pay these taxes, and they're taking more money from me? Yeah, the taxes are horrible because I'd have more money if I didn't have to pay taxes. Okay, well, and there's this thing called inflation, and the way the money system is the money becomes less valuable over time. So if you have $100 now, in about 7 years, it's only going to be worth $50, and you're only going to be able to spend $50, and you can help people understand that. And yeah, that's why that's why I feel stressed, is because my job, I used to make $10 an hour. Now I only make $12.50, but the cost of gas and food has gone up a lot more. So I'm anxious, I'm stressed, and I feel like I can't provide for my family. Okay, here's where Bitcoin fixes that, and where it fixes everything. Because of all that stress, that anxiety about money, you're going to have negative emotions. It impacts your health. It impacts your ability to exercise or be motivated to, do things. It might make you depressed. It's a huge cause for psychological problems. Okay. And there's all these problems that we would find would go away, or be attenuated and be much less in society. Like, health would just go through the roof. People would live longer. I think longevity is like, right now it's 72 years in the US for like a man, or something like that. I don't remember exactly, maybe closer to 78, or I forget exactly what it is. I'd have to check it, but it would be closer to 100. I'm telling you right now, if the whole money system were predicated on something that, instead of making you anxious and fearful and scared, and making you get 3 jobs, and making you, always fighting with family and loved ones, if you had a money system for society that always went up in value, always made you hopeful, always made you think, wow, I can get that dream property. I can go on vacation with my family because we've got a surplus of money. We have abundance. I feel abundant. There's always less stress when anxiety goes down, and there's less mental health problems. And so I think that on the most basic level, if you say, look, the current system is anxiogenic, it's anxiety creating, okay? It makes us stressed. Money is always losing value. We always feel like we don't have enough. I mean, as a physician, in fiat terms, I'm paid half of what I was in purchasing power 20 years ago. That is nuts. That is insane. That is crazy. Wow. So like, yeah. So like a lot of doctors used to be never think about money. There was so much money if you were a doctor because you were doing a really important thing. But now, as physicians, all physicians are getting side hustles. They're like, it's actually, physicians are becoming middle class or upper middle class. I know a lot of physicians coming out with $500,000, $600,000 student loans, and they're making $120,000 a year, as a pediatrician or something. I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. So they can't even live a good life. And these are like golden souled people who don't care about money that much, who want to take care of people. Most people medicine is so hard that you go into it. So I think that's how I address it, is that Bitcoin is a money system that just makes people happier because it makes you feel more abundant, because it goes up in value constantly, because it's designed to go up in value, because it's the only asset the world has ever known to have an actual known schedule and totally supply constrained mechanism. So it's the only thing where we know how many there are. There's 21 million. Like, give or take, actually, a couple, like if you get into the nitty gritty, if you know enough about Bitcoin, but, like there's 21 million Bitcoin that will never change. That's hard written in code. And everybody reinforces the network. It's totally decentralized. And so that causes there's ever increasing demand because of social mechanics and because of social networks and Metcalfe's law. And they're all chasing this one thing that's only divided up into 21 million, or if you want to go down into sats, just a fixed number of units. So it always goes up in value, and when it goes up in value, our morals go up in value, our ethics go up in value. And I know that sounds like whoa, slow down, Kaufman, but that's what I argue in my book. And I think it's because when we're happier, like you said, we are vessels. We're like water, and we'll fill a container. And if we're forced into a container where we're threatened, it's like the person whose family, like a husband whose wife has cancer and he doesn't have money for medicines. He might go and rob a liquor store or rob a store just to make the money to pay for his, loved one's medication. Whereas if you had abundance and your value was always going up in value, your value, your monetary value, this is the craziest thing. Your net value, your net worth, we measure it in dollars, or we measure it in, your ability to buy or invest or whatever. But your net worth is no different than your net morality and your net ability to fill a vessel without anxiety and without these negative influencers and incentives that force us into moral turpitude and force us into problematic areas. So current money system causes stress. Bitcoin gives you hope, and it always goes up in value. So yes, you will become more wealthy. You will be able to purchase more. And that's the whole point. And it's a fascinating 180. It's a fascinating change. And I think it's designed to win and to be like a virus that is so positive that it's going to win pretty much no matter what. I mean, there are some potential risks, obviously. And, I also have no idea how it's going to turn out, and I hope that it wins. But, right now I was talking to Bittman Freud, who's a great follow on X. He's fantastic. And I quote him in the book a little bit and share some of his polls. But he asked a poll, like if you had a random button where you could push a button and kill someone, some random person in the world, but you'd get $1 million and nobody would ever know. would you do it? And like 30 or 40% of people said, yes, I would do that. That blows my mind. In a world where you had enough money, or if you didn't need money, where you just had, had all the money you needed, who would push that button? Like a psychopath, maybe 1%. Okay. Let's say 1% would still press it because there's always going to be psychologically troubled psychopaths or whatever. But would it be 30%? No. So Bitcoin is a Trojan horse for morality, and again, a long-winded answer, but I think I included your question in there, and that's how I view it.
I like it. I think I want more discussions like this, because it also triggers like new thoughts of talking about Bitcoin for me. I think when you talk about wealth or your purchasing power goes up, right? Like I think it would be great to emphasize that it's a combination of things, right? Because Bitcoin is has an absolute verifiable scarcity, right? Like you said, there's only 21 million. The whole point is that it will always stay 21 million. That is eventually in the protocol, right? And so, because everyone's incentives, everyone that adopts it has an incentive to keep it as is, to keep it working as is.
The reason I started the reason why I wrote Self Bitcoinization and why I chose to talk about Self Bitcoinization is because we're all thinking about the outward benefits and becoming more wealthy from a monetary perspective, but I think that there's a moral worth, a moral wealth and worth, but a moral wealth, a health wealth, and there's this other intangible internal satisfaction and enjoyment of life and love and giving and altruism that comes with being morally wealthy. And all of it is predicated on wealth, the type of wealth that you're talking about, where bread costs less. Bread should cost next to nothing. Like, you should actually be able to get whatever kind of bread you want for free, because we've got machines that make bread, and it's like it's pretty ubiquitous. Like, but you're right, but it's gone up and up and up in value. So that just shows how technologically deficient money is as a technology. It's like, would you make a computer that works worse and worse every year? Like would you make a toilet that starts clogging after over time? Would you make so a microwave that, like, you need to cook your food longer and longer and longer every year, so that, like, in 5 years, if you want to heat up a pizza, it takes 6 hours? Like, no, you would never make a technology like that. So it's time to move on from this antiquated technology. And so, like, in my book, okay, I have this this journal called the SATS journal, which is Self-Actualization through Satoshi. And
I like that.
and it's a daily journal on stacking sats and doing all these things, and then how to psychologically start using your increased wealth to grow your own low time preference wealth in more ways than just monetary wealth, which Bitcoin is already doing for you. Bitcoin's easy, right? Bitcoin, you buy Bitcoin, you get Bitcoin, you store Bitcoin, you hold Bitcoin, you hodl it. You don't have to do anything else. Like, once you get it, that's not that hard. Are you still a good person? Does Bitcoin make you a better person? Does being wealthy make you a better person? Not necessarily. It still takes a little bit of work. And the lessons that, especially coming from a fiat standpoint, where we're constantly being debased and everything's more and more expensive, and our work value is being debased. Therefore, our personal value, our net worth, our moral value is being debased constantly.
If you want to self-custody your Bitcoin stack, I recommend the Blockstream Jade Plus. I've been using this premium Bitcoin-only hardware wallet for a few months now, and I love its design and ease of use. What makes it stand out is its open source hardware and software, and Blockstream's unique genuine check, which makes sure that your device is authentic. No backdoors or compromises. You can connect with the Jade Plus however you want: Bluetooth, USB-C, or you can go fully air-gapped with its built-in camera for cable-free QR transactions. The metal case feels solid and the color screen is easy to read, and it connects with your favorite Bitcoin apps like Blockstream Green, Sparrow, and Electrum. Get your Jade Plus today at store.blockstream.com and use code BRAM to get 10% of your entire order. Let's talk about something that not a lot of people think about before it's too late. Where are you storing your Bitcoin seed words? Are they truly secure? I found my solution with StampSeed. It's an elegant all-in-one titanium plate solution with no separate pieces to lose or manage. Your seed phrase gets permanently stamped into pure titanium that withstands fire, survives water, and lasts for generations. Unlike shallow etching methods, StampSeed's patented tools help you to deeply stamp every letter for permanent readability, protecting your financial legacy. When you order a titanium seed plate from StampSeed, you can also upload a custom design or your logo to customize the back of your plate to make it fully personalized. Paper seed phrases are a disaster waiting to happen. Secure your Bitcoin with StampSeed for decades to come. Visit stampseed.com and use code BRAM, that's BRAM, to get 15% off your order.
So, my attempt to contribute to the canon is starting to introduce this concept of self Bitcoinization, where, okay, you've made it past the orange pill stage. You understand one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. You are seeing your value go up. Now you have hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in purchasing power, and you know it's going to continue, and you've done the work. Now it's time to focus inwards and to focus on your happiness and your relationships and your health and your love and your desire to help other people and to be collaborative, competitive, or whatever, to share your time, to share your knowledge, to grow yourself and become enlightened and help society become enlightened. Because I think the ultimate goal is society would be much better. Abraham Maslow introduced the thought of self-actualization, and he based it on a hierarchy of needs. And I go through this in my book, but you can't really experience enlightenment personally if you're worried about shelter over your head and you're hungry and you're sick. Yeah. So there's like these base layers. You need to have shelter, you need to have food, you need to have love and companionship. And then at the very top of this pyramid is self-actualization. And he was a psychiatrist, and he felt that only 1%, or he did studies, and only 1% of people are self-actualized. Can you imagine a society where 80% of us were self-actualized and cared about each other, and it was all one giant family? And it was like, yeah, it's very kumbaya, but I go to Burning Man every year, and to live in a society like that, and it's like this utopia for a week, and people are so good to each other, and there's no money, there's no commodity, and it's a gift economy. And I talk about that a bunch in my book. And I just think that's just kind of the springboard off of that perfect, example you gave, and an illustration of what Bitcoin actually does mechanistically to our wealth and to our time. And I look inwards with this new conversation, and I wanted to start. I felt like there was a dearth of looking inwards, and how do we grow ourselves personally, and how do we grow as ethical, moral people. And I think Bitcoin provides us as a tool to do that. But if you don't use a tool, if you don't recognize it, and every time I see a post or a tweet on X or somewhere else about ever since getting into Bitcoin, I've stopped smoking, I've lost 100 pounds, and we see those, and it got me really thinking as a physician, like, how do I get my patients healthier? And believe it or not, I think if they adopted Bitcoin, that would impact everybody's health. Like, the quicker we get to a post-Bitcoinized society, a hyper-Bitcoinized society, the more rapidly we will all become self-Bitcoinized, because it'll be easier, because we'll have reduced stress, because our money won't be devalued and devaluing.
Well, again, it doesn't matter how much Bitcoin you have or how wealthy you think you are. It's about understanding that if your purchasing power increases towards the future, you actually have more time and space to try stuff.
Yeah.
And that can be anything that you would want to build or do or try, whatever. But the highest thing, as we're talking about with the Maslow's pyramid, is this self-actualization journey, which
Yeah.
I actually think Bitcoin is creating a path for everyone, right? If it helps you to have, yes, this shelter, if it helps you
Yes.
to move somewhere where you can find your people and a spouse and whatever, like you slowly move up this pyramid eventually to the self-actualization part.
I just gotta show you
Amazing.
for those who can't see, and I don't know if it's backwards.
No. Yeah, well, I see it correctly on the screen. So
I'm
I hope
holding up the Maslow's pyramid,
yeah.
And the thing is, we want as many people in society to become self-actualized, and that's the whole goal. Is, I mean, we're all a giant family, and we're all just kind of iterations of each other, and we know how good it feels to be happy, to feel safe, and those sorts of things. And so I think that if we can lift the base layer of society, and yes, I understand a lot of Bitcoiners believe in free market capitalism, not crony capitalism, of course, but there's very libertarian roots to this movement and to Bitcoin in general. But when you think about it, like, if you're a good human being, if you're just a good person, you just want everybody to be happy, and everybody's goal should be to increase net happiness. And like, I'm always giving resources away, it's really hard. I live in Denver. It's really hard driving down the street, and there's people who are destitute. There's people who society has left behind, and like, the resources for them. And then there's wonderful people out there who are selfless, and it's great, but we should all be trying to lift everyone up to at least the first few layers. And maybe self-actualization, you need to take that journey on your own, but everybody should be able to get high enough on the pyramid as a base level where they have that opportunity. And so, it starts to get like, oh, well, socialism, communism, that kind of stuff. So I think those are failed political structures. I introduce a new political structure in the book. Instead of capitalism and socialism and communism, all these different kinds, I talk about energism. And energism, I think, is a political ideology like capitalism or socialism, but it's a decentralized version of capitalism, and it is the manifestation of what Jeff Booth talks about, which is more of a competitive, collaborative state of being. And so, I think that we can move into a new political and philosophical ideology as we become hyper Bitcoinized as a society. And by the way, I don't think we're at like the tipping point. Like, we're getting closer and closer and closer. But I really think there's going to be a moment where we go max bid and it goes vertical in terms of like a fiat. Like, how do you value this thing? Because it's literally invaluable compared to something that's worthless, like a dollar. And so we're seeing the death of the dollar, and we're seeing the rise of a new perfect solution, really more perfect solution. I mean, who knows? But I think that at some point, everybody realizes, wow, we actually need this. Every country needs it. Every company needs it. Every person needs it. And then it's hard to, and then it achieves its actual value, whatever that is, which is the value of technology. It's the value of all deflationary technology that we've built in all of human existence. That is the value of Bitcoin right now. And and right now, we have an unbelievable, life-changing moment of arbitrage in history to literally buy a piece of all human ingenuity and all human inventions and all human deflationary technology for almost nothing. Like Bitcoin is so cheap. The fact that you can exchange something that has no value, ultimately that goes to zero, that actually goes to zero,
exactly,
for something that has infinite value. This is an amazing time to be alive. And and people who understand that are well on their way, obviously, to low time preference, on their way to a place where they can become self-Bitcoinized if they're not already. Because a lot of people are already self-actualized and have done a lot of self-work. But I think Bitcoin is going to bring up the masses and raise the level, the frequency, and the incidence of self-actualization. And in doing so, I think it's going to decrease mental disorders, psychological disorders. I think it's going to increase health and longevity. And I really think that, when we say Bitcoin fixes this, it fixes a lot more than people realize. It fixes us as human beings. And, I think that's, you could write a book about it, and that's why I did.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So in the book, you present the idea that if Bitcoin really succeeds, it could become worth nothing. Can you kind of unpack how you got to that thought?
The last chapter in my book is called the death of money, and the death of money came to me while I was at Burning Man. Okay, and this is the chapter. The death of money, and so here's how it plays out. Okay, and people say no. There's always going to be scarce resources. There's only so many mansions you can build on this mountain, or there's only so many Mona Lisas, and that's a good argument, and it's something we can get into. But I think that Bitcoin is a bridge to this next paradigm where technology, which we know is accelerating, we know it's completely deflationary and should be making life easier and things cheaper. Okay, once AI and if we live through AI, I do think cancer will be solved. As a medical physician, seeing the advancements, I think cancer will be solved in 10 to 20 years. I don't think it'll just be like the plague. Like if you came to me with the plague right now, I'd give you penicillin and you'd be fine. Whereas the plague wiped out a good portion of humanity. So I think money will be like that. I think it'll be disease, a certain disease that's curable, and not necessary, like smallpox or the plague. And I think that Bitcoin is the antibiotic. Okay, I think that eventually, in a society where resources are so abundant that you can have whatever you want. Well, first, I think we're going to be psychologically fixed to rework our incentives. So I don't think we're going to be this hoarding mentality, hoarding of resources. I don't think we're going to want 8 houses and 10 Lamborghinis. I think that it's going to be, there's going to have to be something figured out in society so that resources make sense, of course. But I think that resources are going to be so abundant that if you want a Lamborghini, you'll just call one up and it'll drive you to the racetrack or into the mountains where self-driving is still legal, and you'll be allowed to race, or to drive it. And why would you even have to own it? Like, why? Why would you want the upkeep? Why would you want to have the garage? Why would, okay, first. Second, if you do want to own it, maybe you just own it. Why? So in that kind of society where technology can give us just about anything we want, money becomes hypo-relevant. It becomes almost irrelevant, maybe completely irrelevant. And at that point, the value of barter and exchange and, I'm already at a point where if somebody comes to me and they need to be sewed up, or they need like a procedure or cut off of, something, come into my house, lay down on my couch. I just do it for people. I do, I treat people, even
like
somebody, yeah, even someone who I don't know, I treat them for free. Because why? Because do I need the money? No. Do I and it makes me feel good to help somebody.
Yeah. I personally feel that this would be an amazing outcome. Like if everyone has the opportunity to go on their own journey, help other people with their journey and reflect and talk and whatever, where, all these people live in a society where the base needs for life are just covered because they can properly harvest, all the benefits from the ever continuing technological advancements, that would be an amazing place.
It would be. And I can't agree more. And I mean, that's what prompted me to write this book. And, like once you feel like you're living in abundance, you don't need to or a farm and have a Lambo and stuff. Like I've got a 20-year-old truck, and 15-year-old camper. And I drove my Subaru until it literally died on the highway on me, like my old 2006 Subaru. I could buy a bunch of Ferraris right now and it wouldn't impact my material wealth. And I just go to Vegas and I rent a Ferrari if I want, or you know what I'm saying? Like you could get trapped into these material acquisitions. And I think that's some kind of compensation for some kind of emptiness or sadness, or I think that there's, materialism, hyper materialism is actually a problem, and maybe a symptom or a symptom of something psychologically that is something we can work on, and we can all grow, and there's so much growth potential. So it's part of the reason why I wrote this book, because we all want to be happier, healthier, and so this is the first, maybe not the first, but I think all Bitcoin books are self-help books in some regards, and I think everybody who adopts Bitcoin wants to be in a better place. They just recognize that money is one of the biggest stressors in our lives and keeps us lower on that hierarchy of needs. But I think that, as society is hyper Bitcoinized and as AI and technology keep moving, we're going to start looking inwards more and more. And so I've been thinking a lot about it, and I'm just standing on the shoulders of giants here, again, just listening to Saylor and Jeff Booth and you and Breedlove and all these guys who have contributed. I mean, Croesus and and Adam Livingston. There's so many great minds to follow, to think about. I've got an appendix in here of like all these incredible accounts to follow on X, where that help us grow and learn, and just so many people that I'm really indebted to, that helped me come up with the way I'm thinking about this. And I think we kind of all help each other, and it's kind of like a team. And it's like, well, what are you thinking about? Like, how are you contributing to this? Because this is a whole new area. I mean, undoubtedly, people will be getting PhDs in Bitcoin, and if you've already put in 10,000 hours, maybe you have a Bitcoin, like maybe a Bitcoin PhD, like maybe we have Bitcoin PhDs, and and the masters, the educators, the people that we follow and learn from, maybe this is my dissertation, this is my thesis, and this is my desire to contribute, because I see something so positive, and something that is so helpful potentially for people, that I felt like, especially as a physician, I see one person at a time, and people get sicker and sicker over my whole career. Bitcoin, self-Bitcoinization, this is a chance to really help a lot of people understand their health, understand their psychology, and really start to improve their lives. And what could be better? What could be a better and more important thing? We're all here for some limited time for now. And, who knows what this reality really is. But what we do know is being loved feels good. Being a good person feels good. Doing good for others feels good. Like these things everyone knows. Doing bad things feels bad. We're ashamed of ourselves when we lie or cheat or steal, which are very human things. We've all done them. And I think Bitcoin affords us a place to where we feel safer, and we can start to work on ourselves, and we don't really need to kind of fall into our 7 deadly sins, quite as easily, and we can be our best selves, and we can grow and learn.
One sidestep. The 7 deadly sins, it's funny, they are all about physical stuff. Have you ever thought about
that? Yeah, that's true. Gluttony and sloth.
It's all about doing things in the physical reality.
Well, I would push back on that, because I think that they are all also metaphors for psychological manifestations of those things. Because
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, because sloth, yes, they have material, they have real world manifestations, but if like gluttony, that can come from a deep psychological place, and you can have psychological gluttony. So while I agree, they are, yeah, I think that that's a
like it's the distraction. That's more my point. Like they are all Yes, they are called sins, but it's more like a distraction. Like if you commit these sins, you are basically stuck in the physical world. So it's like a distraction to
right.
what you could be doing in a more spiritual way.
Interesting. Yeah.
You mentioned this idea of an abundance mindset, and I think what a lot of people find difficult is because fiat money kind of invokes this zero-sum game, and this artificial scarcity, basically, that they feel or think they are operating in. It's very hard to imagine what is an abundance mindset. What is that, or like how can I get there? Do you have any like practical steps or ideas for helping people to starting to adopt this mindset? Because again, I don't think it really matters how much Bitcoin you have or how rich you are. That's not what it's about. But it's when you live like that. Yeah.
So I think it takes practice, and again, the SATS journal. So in here, I have practiced abundance mentality, and it's literally a check mark, and there's some notes. And so for me, in my journal, I still write in this journal. I made this so that you could Xerox copy it, and you could have one of these for every day if you wanted, one for each week. But I literally have practiced abundance mentality, and then I have a whole chapter on suggestions on how to do that, and why to do that, and how it improves us. Adopted low time preference thinking, practice minimalism, took steps towards financial sovereignty, and then there's a health and wellness. So I've got like a mindset and lifestyle, and so I definitely get very deep into that, and I think there's a lot to talk about there. But practicing abundance mindset, there's so many ways, and some of it is walking up to someone you love, and I really believe in looking in front of a mirror, and what's it called again when you look in front of a mirror? Not an affirmation. I forget what it's called. But and everybody out there's like.
Yeah, like an affirmation. No.
Yeah, an affirmation. But I think walking up to someone you love and just out of the blue, giving them a hug and saying, "We're so lucky. We have so much in this world. We are so abundant." That brings it into reality. That raises your vibration. That increases, and for that person, and it's been shown, it releases oxytocin. It releases serotonin, and you believe it, and you feel that way, and you act that way, and then you meet someone on the street, and maybe a feeling of abundance is to just go out of your way to be nice to someone, and we're abundant in happiness as well, and you can share that, you can brighten someone's day with that. So it doesn't always have to be money. And then obviously certain kinds of charities, those kinds of things, and so there's a lot of ways it can go, I think that not just thinking about it, not just cogitation, but actually practicing on a day to day, it's just like working out your muscles. Or I'm a big climber. I've climbed for 30 plus years. I love rock climbing. I mean, I have a cabin at the Red River Gorge. I dedicate my time to climbing. It's such a passion for me. It's my love. I practice every day, and you get better and better. And so if you practice an abundance mentality, you're going to get better. Because the worst thing is if you have a scarcity mentality, and these are the people who are rich and have 5 Lamborghinis and like a $28 million house, and they're empty and sad inside, like, and or they're, maybe there's something missing and they don't feel abundance. So they buy cars and they have multiple relationships and there's just a superficiality about it. That's not abundance. That is some form of loneliness and sadness and like a familiar trope or meme that we have all the time is like people won't know that I had so much Bitcoin, but there will be signs, and people like post something that shows them in like a Lamborghini or something. A lot of the top let's say Bitcoin holders or even people with fiat money, like who are self-actualized or at peace with their reality, like Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he's lived in for 40 years, like and he drives an old beater. I think it's a Volkswagen or something, like a lot of Bitcoiners. Yeah, they have a nice house and they can afford some nice food, but the material acquisition of things. Yeah, and look, there are healthy people who are abundant, who have those things, and I'm not saying everybody who gets a Lambo is like somehow depraved or something, but I'm just saying, like, in order to feel abundant and to live in an abundant lifestyle and to work on self-actualization, it's worth it to practice, and it's worth it to have a teacher or teachers, or to be going through it with others, and it's worth it to to employ every tool that you can. So again, that's why I think daily meditation practice is important, and that's why I created these tools.
Awesome. Well, I hope your book can reach many people and help them get started on this path. I will also link, of course, to Amazon where people can buy it if they're interested. So I'm excited to see you publish it, and I hope you'll reach more people.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'd love to finish up this conversation with my last question, the question that I ask everyone, which is, what is a core belief that you will never let go of?
That's wonderful. A core belief that I will never let go of comes from actually John Milton in Paradise Lost. And he said, the mind is its own place, and in itself it can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven. I really believe that we are creators, we are artists of our own life, weaving our own tapestry, perhaps painting on a blank canvas. And so many of us think that this world does things to us and that we react. But my core belief that will never change is that you're always in control of the way you view the world. And I think we can manifest the way we want this world to be. And so for me, this world is a total heaven. And my hope is that we can all live in heaven together, and that we can all enjoy, and that everybody can feel that way, because there's a lot of pain and suffering, and there's a lot of problems in this world, obviously. And I think we can lift each other up and work as a big giant family to raise the level of everyone of happiness and enlightenment.
Thanks for sharing. That was really great. Well, thanks so much for this conversation also. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, man, best of luck. We'll stay in touch.
Yeah, Bram. Yeah, thank you so much for the chance to speak. You made me think about a lot of things that I'm actually going to go back and do some work on and think about and have some derivative conversations. So maybe we can keep the conversation going offline.
100%, 100%. For everyone who listened, let us know what you think in the comments below, and if you got any new ideas from this conversation. I know I did. So thanks again, man. Cheers.
Thanks, Bram.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you can click here to find more just like it, and click here to find all Bitcoin for Millennials podcast episodes. Also, please like this video if you want to help shine a light on the message of Bitcoin, and subscribe to my channel to stay connected. I hope to see you for a next episode. Bye.